We can get crazy in some of these intersections, can't we? This is just a schematic of an intersection in Milwaukee. When we start getting more than 4 legs, this is a 6-leg intersection, start getting the radial routes coming through, then things become very, very challenging in terms of accommodating everybody within the system. And when we also have complicated intersections, we start getting creative in our pedestrian markings as well. Now, is there any issues with that one? I mean, so you look at that, well, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? We've kind of at least connected all the dots and all the crosswalks come together. What's the obvious problem with that? Yeah, so people don't walk that way. It's hard for drivers to understand. What's the third? Okay. So I'm going to talk in just a couple of minutes about it is, I mean, the whole accessibility issue. So we have to also accommodate visually impaired pedestrians. And a visually impaired pedestrian is not going to know you need to kind of, go 45 degrees for 10 feet and then take a right and, and all these things to get you across the road. The obvious problem that comes along with all these, and we've mentioned it several times, is those who decide just to cross. So we can provide the best facilities in the world, but if no one follows through on them, then we have challenges, and we have to understand where the key crossing points probably are. In this particular case, there's a beautiful crosswalk just about this side of the picture, so for whatever reason, that extra 10 feet was more than those 4 gentlemen could handle. But nevertheless, that provides some of the safety issues that we need to go along. Some other ideas that I just throw out here for you to think about. So this is a shot from England, and one of the concepts that are used in the English system is these lights with these little beacons on the top. And when pedestrians come and push a button, these things light up. So one of the ways of introducing increased pedestrian safety, and this is in a school-related area, is to have these lighted crossings. So when you see the lights on, vehicles are supposed to yield. Plus, they also use this, notice this jagged marking. That's also supposed to be a warning to drivers that you're going into a conflicting point. They'll also do some things with humping, or what's called a hump zebra crossing. So they'll raise the pedestrian crossing and then zigzag you in there to let you know that it's coming up, to help again find or better define the crossing locations for pedestrians. And then that leads us into some more discussion of different types of signalization aspects. One thing that we have decided in the United States in terms of the manual and uniform traffic control devices that we don't like, but is being used in other places around the world, this is a Canadian shot, is something that's called half signals. And why they're called half signals is because we see the traffic signals here at this location, but they're not controlling the side street. The side street is controlled only by a stop sign. So what happens here is when a pedestrian comes across, these signals here are essentially only controlling the pedestrian crosswalk. Okay? So we have a full signalized intersection system only for the pedestrian crossing, and our transportation community, at least as we currently stand, doesn't think that's a great idea. There are other ones that are being used. Anybody heard of the pelican signal? So, Professor has, anybody else? So there are some different concepts here that are being used to communicate with drivers. And this is, Pelican is a made-up acronym for pedestrian lighting, essentially. Okay? And what it does is there's some pedestrian light-related elements and crosswalk-related elements that come. So again, when you push the button, there's more of a visual communication with the driver in terms of lighted type facilities. Not used a lot. It's being piloted. This again is in Tucson, Arizona. It's being piloted but not used frequently. The one that's really kind of gaining momentum is this thing that we call the Hawk. So it stands for high intensity walk. Oh gosh, what the heck does it stand for? I don't remember what the heck it stands for. High intensity walk signal or something like that. But essentially, here's how it works. I'm not going to try. I actually have some video links that I'm not going to mess with, given my luck with the computer thus far. But you're going to have to take my word here, and this kind of shows you that these signals are dark until a pedestrian pushes the push button. And then they'll go into a flash mode, and then ultimately go into a red flash to stop all the vehicles on the roadway until the pedestrian is crossed, and at that point, it goes back to dark. So there were some challenges with this initially in the traffic engineering community. Saying, well, I'm not sure I like this idea of these dark signals sitting here and all of a sudden randomly they come on and we have a driver expectancy related issue to how all this is going to work. And you know, we need to think about this a little bit longer. Well, we have thought about it, and this is now an approved mechanism in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices with the next version that's coming out. And I like these. I mean, I think this is, obviously there's some cost to them to put them in, but in high volume roadways where you have a relatively active pedestrian crossing, this is one that I think you're going to see a lot more of. In fact, there's a discussion coming up in a couple weeks with the Wisconsin transportation community to talk about these specifically. And I think DOT is going to start using this a little bit more often across the state. There's also another acronym-based system that's called a two-CAN. So that means two can cross. So that accommodates both the bicycle and pedestrian related issues here together. Okay? Real quickly, and I'm getting pretty close to the end of my time, so if you can bear with me just another minute. Just some other shots. So this is a Chinese system. I was in China regularly. And one of the things I liked about this is at the pedestrian level, they were communicating with the pedestrian in terms of the signals as well as the crossing. So they had the vehicular signals were down at the pedestrian level so you could see what was going on from that standpoint as well. And then they also communicated with you in terms of the don't walk, but the walk was also communicated with you through some bars. So as you got closer and closer to the end of the walk phase, the number of bars went down. And I thought that was a very creative way of communicating with pedestrians. The facilities are obviously important. You know, anytime you provide sidewalks that look like this, you have some potential safety issues. There's a whole issue of roundabouts in accommodating pedestrians. Any roundabouts, Platteville yet? Nope. So are you getting one? So accommodating pedestrians there is a tremendous challenge that we can certainly talk about as well.